Duolingo and ran across this recently and wanted to share it. So Marcella and her family are part of the Quicha indigenous people native to the mountains of the Andes mountain range. And in Marcella's culture, water sources are sacred. Her community thinks of water as a living being that needs to be nurtured and protected. They think about it as showing the water their affection, their cariño. And on my healing journey, I've experienced a lot of different opportunities. Healing your ancestral story was one, and that was awesome because I learned a water meditation. And it was fascinating just to hear the person that was giving the talk, how much she respected water and what it meant. So with that, the path that I'm going to take you on is I'm going to start with some centering activities. I assume you've been doing some things today and want to hopefully help you let those go and so you can be fully present. I'm going to give you some background, why I chose water fasting, then give you a sense of what my 28-day experience was. Again, a reminder, it was 21 days of water only, and then a 7-day refeeding period. So when I came back into the my regular routine, I was able to continue eating. Education, a little bit about the medical profession, what I've learned, and then some resources at the end. So I do want to begin with an acknowledgement. When we talk about land, land is part of who we are. It's a mixture of our blood, our past, our current, and our future. We carry our ancestors in us and they're around us, as you all do. And that's from Mary Lyons from the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. And then this picture is from artist Chief Ladybird, who says, "We must protect the land for the next 7 generations." And since most of the people, right, ones that are on, I know now, are in that elder mode, and I think more about what are we leaving to the next generation and the importance of that they will have a healthy environment to be in. So I like to acknowledge our ancestors, all of the things that they've given us, and ask too if you know who your ancestors are, the ones that were the land. And so where I live in Minnesota, it's the Dakota, and understanding that they were here. I also want to have you experience, if you haven't, the I Relax meditative movement. Again, it's meant to bring you more present. So I invite you to bring your shoulders up. Notice how you can create tension there, and then bring one shoulder down and the other shoulder. It's just nice and easy. Bring the shoulders up again, but notice most people hold tension in their neck and shoulders, then bring one shoulder down and the other. So I'm just doing a very short version of this, but we incorporate the breath next. So take a deep breath, inhaling. Exhaling, bring your shoulders up. Continue the exhalation as you bring one shoulder down and the other shoulder. One more with the breath and the movement, inhaling. Exhaling, bringing the shoulders up, one shoulder down, then the other shoulder. We add the affirmation, the power of your voice, and the connection between the mind and body. Your body listens to what thoughts you have, whether they're spoken inside your head or outside, externally. And so when we say I relax, the body says, okay, I can help with that, right? And we want to feel it in our body. So let's take a deep breath, inhaling. Exhaling, bringing your shoulders up, own your power, because you have the power to relax. And we say, I relax. We're going to do one more. Take a deep breath, inhaling. Exhaling as you bring the shoulders up. One shoulder down, relax. So hopefully that's helped a little bit. You can always go back to it if you found it interesting. Easy movement to do. And then a reminder to come with an open mind and a heart. You're going to hear things that you probably haven't heard before. And part of why I put the I Relax meditative movement in was your mind and body will tell you if what I'm saying isn't landing very well with you, and to pay attention to that because that's valuable information. You are here, and I am so grateful you're here and excited to be sharing my journey. And the reason I'm doing it is that I found that in case anyone else wants to go down this path, one, that they're aware of it. So I do know people that like to follow Western medicine, and I honor and respect their choices. I also want to have other people be aware that there are other choices in case that doesn't resonate with who you are. So this is from Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine. Everyone has a physician inside him or her. We just have to help it in its work. The natural healing force within each of us is the greatest force in getting well. Our food should be our medicine. Our medicine should be our food. But to eat when you are sick is to feed your sickness. Now, based on what I know, and I have seen it before, that our food should be our medicine should be our food, but I have never seen to eat when you are sick is to feed your sickness. And that is really at the heart of why you would fast. If you are sick, it's a good idea not to put any food into your body, because what your body needs to do is to process the food. If you're not putting food into your body can heal itself. It has the time, the resources, the energy, because it's not dealing with anything else that you're putting into it. So why did I make this choice? This is my doctor from Florida. I love him, Dr. Daniel Stanciu. I met him last year and it was wonderful. He spent a lot of time with me, getting to know me, and it was music to my ears to hear words like, you come with what you know, I'll share my knowledge, and then you decide. And so he and I are on the same page relative to how the mind and body works. And so another thing that he told me, remember not to define yourself with a cancer. You, right, are not your cancer, and it's something that is shown up in your body, and not to say, that you're connected to the cancer. And so what happened was I've been working with him, so to speak, and I did have some blood results done in May that came back alarming. The ones before that had been okay. I did have a diagnosis 2.5 years ago with a colonoscopy that there was a growth there. And so there was figured bleeding coming out, and that's why it was causing my iron to be so low. Because he said to me, are you sure you're okay? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you might need a blood transfusion. And it was like, no, I feel fine. And so once I left there, I knew I was to fast. I knew enough about fasting. I had done a 3-day water fast. I'd been reading about it. And this is prior to him giving me anything about the center that I went to. So I've been being drawn to it. And that did bring my numbers by doing a fast for 6 days so that I was fine. When I went back to him, then I said, I'm not doing a colonoscopy. I'm not doing surgery anymore. I'm not doing any more Western medicine. And he said, well, then we'll need to find another way. And he handed me a sheet of paper that had Tanglewood on it. Knew nothing about it. And for me, it was just fascinating because as soon as he gave it to me, I knew I was supposed to go. And I started preparing my plans. That's when I met Lauren Lockman. He has been doing water fast for 30 years. He's got about 4,000. His healing center is in the heart of Costa Rica. Not sure if you're familiar with it. Beautiful grounds. And it was fascinating for me to go and to be there. And so I met with him over Zoom, and he looked at my blood work and to say that I was able to come. The only concern he has is your electrolytes. They need to be at a level because as you go through the fast, depending on how long you're there, you need to have your electrolytes so that you don't pass out and other things. I don't know if you're familiar with electrolytes. This was all new information for me. Mine were okay. They can help you get them back up, but that's kind of the only requirement coming in. Now, there's people that were there. We all started at the same time. The shortest fast was 7 days. The longest is 40. And a lot of that has to do with what weight do you come in? What's your goal? What is it that you are there to do? And then do you think you can actually do that, right? For a lot of people, thinking that they're going to miss a meal might be a challenge. So these are people that are on board with the benefits of water fasting. So I like to share the picture on which do you want to be in that you think is a healing environment. And that's what I loved about where I was. So here is my ranchito. They had 32 beds. I chose a ranchito, which was an independent little cottage. So it literally had the bed with the netting over it because the windows were all open, no glass on them. And so whatever temperature was outside, that's what I experienced inside. A little table there, you'll see my water. So this is my water for the day. It does come from a natural spring. And so it's on property and they replenish it every day. And there's a chair in there. So I loved where I was. My daily life. So when I arrived, I got taken, shown where my ranchito was. And this is a typical ranchita. There's a lot of hammocks that are on property. And so it's a big area. So I would sleep in the ranchito and then walk along beautiful paths. It was fun to see the butterflies, the flowers. You could see the lemon trees, the lime trees. So he is growing as much food as possible on property, and that's what you start eating during the refeeding period. Then every morning you are getting your vitals taken, things like blood pressure, your weight. There is glucose once a week, and then they do ask you if you've had bowel movements. They want to track that, especially if they do ask what kind, because if you would have the stools that are very loose, then you're probably losing electrolytes. So they do ask you those questions. And then there's a lecture, so a 1-hour lecture. And again, that happened for 21 days. And so in this short webinar, I'm picking the things that I hope are important to you. And again, the reason I'm doing it, if it's something you're interested in, that it would kind of spur you to continue to seek and find out more and see if it's something right for you. I loved it because there were 32 other people that were there. They were from other countries, only about 4 from the US, but like Germany, Switzerland, and that was fun because then during the lecture you could hear their questions. Majority of the 32 when I was there tended to be males. There weren't very many females there. They had a pool, and again, beautiful grounds. I chose a lot during my free time to sit on my ranchito porch. And it was awesome because this is a butterfly that showed up. I also sat, and if you can see, I'm kind of pointing. I don't know if you can see it back to the ranchito. They had the rocks there, and so I'd sit on the porch steps, and all of a sudden I see this little green thing walking across, and it's like, what the heck is that? There's some bug that is that green, only to learn that that was an ant. These ants go and eat some of the leaves and then carry them off wherever they're taking them. So I thought that was kind of funny too, because for me it was, look at this green thing just walking across. So that, and I had a hummingbird. I was sitting on the porch. I actually had a hummingbird come and touch my chest. And I was just excited about that I had been that still. And it was, I connect with when something, a dog, a cat, a bird is really connecting with me, that's kind of a sign as well. So that just kind of tickled me that the hummingbird came and said, here, you're in the right spot. There were other healing opportunities. It was nightly, actually 4 nights. You could do a meditation with a discussion. I didn't share it before I went off camera that you can't see. If you want to be in silence, you put an orange ribbon. I chose to put it because I have a hair piece that I could add it to. So I did stay in silence for the 28 days. That can be hard for people. It was hard for some of the people here in particular, even when we were asked to eat in silence, that was difficult. I did break my silence when we did the discussion part. So an hour, we would be together, 20-minute meditation, and then discussion on the book, Love Without Conditions. And so what we would do is listen as Lauren would read a chapter. They're relatively small, and then that would be our discussion point. Love the book, bought it, really find it helpful. And for me in particular, because my upbringing was within the Catholic methodology or faith, and so found a lot of healing in that respect as well, and really liked the book and bought one for myself. So coming now to the concept of why water fasting. So why would I spend 21 days sipping water only? And it really is giving the body time to heal itself. So Lauren does a lot of lectures. He's been in, I think, 170 different countries or whatever, or locations. I don't know how to put it. So he's been all around. And so when he lectures, people will ask him, kind of what heals the body, or he asks them, what heals the body? And they might answer you, food, fasting. And he will respond, no, the body heals the body. And that there's so much that resonated with me. Again, it was like music to my ears, that this is so fun to know that the body is so intelligent. And if we just think about it, all of the cells within our bodies, how the organs, they all talk to each other. I mean, for me, it's beyond my conscious thinking. And part of why I like what I do with meditative movements is reminding me again of the mystery and the gift, that how your heart beats for you, your lungs do. You don't have to think about that. They all work together. We interchange the air we breathe with the trees. This is awesome world we live in, and sometimes I forget it. And again, that's why I like to practice the meditative movements, because then when I share it with others, I'm reminded that, wow, this is so awesome, and the power that our minds have. But this is really about, at this junction, what are the body benefits? So this is my take, and keep in mind that this is how I heard things, and I have gone on the Google and said, yep, this is what science says too. So how does the water fasting affect the body? So we have large intestines, maybe you do. Some people might not actually have been taken out, but they're the length the same as your height, and it's relatively straight. So I'm 5'3", and so my large intestine would be about 5'3". If you're 6'4", yours is approximately 6 feet 4 inches. Small intestines, I guess all of ours are about the same, 22 feet long. It winds, it turns, it twists. And this is what Lauren calls the old material. And this is what is clogging up in your small intestine. So one of the things that I found prior to coming was I had gone into Tucson, apothecary and met someone and hired them as a nutritionist. And she was the first one that said to me, I don't think you're absorbing your nutrients. And that she was the first one that even entertained that idea, or at least gave it to me. And I just thought, yeah, because my diet is relative to, you know, what's considered healthy, really pretty good. And yet I'm struggling. And so I was really excited when Lauren said, yes, that will happen. Your small intestine, your body can't get anything because there's all this old material that's clogging it up. And he would talk about the people that have come to the fast, a woman that needed to take some, or was taking high dosage of a supplement, and once she completed the water fast, she didn't have to do that anymore. And it was confirmation that that her small intestine was blocking any of the nutrients that she was getting from the food. So I got excited about that. And again, one of the main reason why the water fasting is happening that way. So if I had done a shorter fast, like the 7 days, based on what Lauren knows, that wouldn't be enough to really break down much of the old material. The best, or how long it takes, is approximately 11 days. And then by staying for an extra 10 days, that I'm just allowing the body to get rid of more. So your question might be, or you've been thinking about it, did I get hungry in the 21 days? And the answer was no. Now, food is not the same to me as it is for a lot of people, that they're passionate about it, they really like it. Having said that, that's pretty common with everybody that's there. That it seemed that unless you are, and I'll do the quote, addicted to food, meaning that you're using it, and this is my definition, for more emotional support, or your brain just says that you have to have it, it's actually, it's shown that you don't. So having the water is sufficient. And then a lot has to do too with how much you weigh coming in, as well as how old you are. So how long have you been consuming? And again, it varies. Some people don't consume a Western diet, and so they would have potentially different things going on. So one of the things that I shared before, they asked about bowel movements, and I found it interesting. So I had none while I was doing the water fasting. Some people would have bowel movements every day. So, and he did say there was someone, and overweight, meaning, right, excessive, I'm not overweight, excessive body mass, and they would have a bowel movement every day. So you can kind of think to yourself, how does that work? How does it work that you're not consuming food and yet you are having, some people can have bowel movements? I've heard in our United States, some of the statistics about elderly people being in an assisted living or somewhere else, that they actually have 2 weeks of buildup that is being stored. And so your body needs the water in order for it to be efficient and effective to eliminate. And so that's why it's very important with the water. And we did sip it all throughout the day. So I will go back to this because I missed the part to share with you that don't know how much you know about water, but you can actually overhydrate. You can actually drink too much water. The concern there is back to those electrolytes, because then you would start to lose those. So I started out sipping 8-ounce glasses of water per day. I did get a little concerned at day 3 because it was, I was dizzy. And so when I talked with Lauren, again, he did the lecture, and then I met with him afterwards and talked about the statistics, my numbers, should I increase my water? And he said yes. So their concern is they're okay with a gradual, and listen to your body and see what your body's doing. So then I increased to 9 glasses, and I continued to increase. I got to 14 glasses per day. So I was drinking 14 8-ounce glasses because I figured I'm already doing it. I might as well go for broke and continue to do it. So most of the day, I was doing the sipping of the water. So the other water fasting benefits, this comes from their website, is you can connect with your life purpose, have mental clarity and direction, be motivated to accomplish your life goals, be emotionally balanced, feel happier, lighter, and live with optimism, and feel a stronger spiritual connection. And those I was experiencing as well. So there's more to it. And I would offer some of the people that were there when I was, if they came only for the physical benefits. And I say that because they weren't participating in some of the other, what I would consider kind of spiritual things that were an option. To get into our bodies, there's a picture with kind of, if you want the science behind what's it made out of. This part is to share with you that, and these are being verified by science, that negative emotions such as rage and frustration lead to increased disorder in the autonomic nervous system and in the heart's rhythm. A chaotic HRV pattern adversely affects the whole body. But positive feelings such as appreciation and love produce heart rhythm, coherence, inner harmony, and increased health. And so this is 100% match for me on how I have experienced emotions and how I see the connection between my mind and body. And what's happened in the past is also part of that. So that is something that started to happen. So I also found it interesting as I was exploring. So I've got a lot of time, right? I'm sipping water, I'm looking at beautiful things, and my mind is active, my emotions are active. And so a lot is coming up. After day 3, my dream world really opened up. I was dreaming so much. And then I was having thoughts come up, emotions come up that I was surprised at. I'm not being distracted by anything else. And so, and I have been doing this work for over 40 years, so this wasn't anything new. This was also another reason why I wanted to be in silence, because otherwise it's easy to get distracted because I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling grief, I'm feeling sadness, And to me, that is important, because if it exists in my mind and body, then part of why I'm doing this experience, detoxing, is to give those an opportunity to also be released and to be expelled. So I also have found it fascinating that the cancer I've had is in the digestive tract. And I have been exposed to more people that are on board, that part of what I've been challenged with is I haven't been able to digest my experiences. So the picture that you see is of my brother Jimmy, and he died when I was 7 and he was 3. And that was hard. I, at that time, was not able to process that grief. And I found it fascinating too when I had the 2.5 years ago after the colonoscopy, and because I was hopeful that, okay, now I'm completely clear that nope, you've got other things still happening there, that I cried, and I cried that deeply. And I noticed that grief is a deep cry. And so I was becoming more interested in that. And then, as the universe has it, I'm at a webinar that's called Inviting Abundance. It's about grief. And it's 2 parents that lost their young child at like 9 months. And she stated, it's really hard to be a parent and lose your child. And the thoughts that I had, the feelings were, you should try being 7 and having nobody talk to you about it, having that fear. And so for me, I knew that, okay, if I had let that go, then that would not have been my response. So I did take their class. It's in the resources at the end. So a lot of what was happening within this 21 days, I journaled a lot, had a lot of insights coming up, and a lot of crying. By day 18, I felt defenseless, meaning that whatever wanted to come up did. Because if you've been exposed to this, and I'll share a little bit, again, this is my perspective and my experience, that it wants to come up. And because we stay busy, we don't want to acknowledge that maybe we're sad. And it is a mechanism, and to be grateful. So for me, to be grateful that I did find a coping way at 7 and have all the way through, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. So the mind and body do work together because it wants to be healthy. And then from my perspective, when I'm in a place that, okay, I'm ready to let it go, I'm ready to move on from it, then I'm able to do that. So digesting the grief and other emotions, and then feeling the joy really on, I can let them go. So getting to the 7-day refeeding, I had no bowel movements prior to starting the 7-day refeeding, very small quantities. Part of what I like about the diet is there's a lot of fruit, and I'm seeing things that I've never seen before. This is a watermelon, sandia, if you know Spanish, and it's, for me, it's look at the beauty in it. And I've noticed that now, and that was fascinating during the refeeding. It was fun to have people bring me the food and ask what I wanted. Small amounts to begin with, and continued to increase 4 meals during the day. And this is when the old material for me started to move. My thought process is, my body said, you're not giving me anything, I'm keeping everything I've got. So once I started eating again, okay, I'll let stuff go. I also found it fascinating that it's the refeeding, because we talk about feeding babies, and I just was, that's kind of curious. So I really have grown in an appreciation of nature and looking at food. I had some peaches and nectarines, and I found, wow, it's beautiful. And a tomato, where before it was cut it up and pretty much, I mean, I love beauty, and so my plate would always look pretty good, meaning color wise. And yet now it's really seeing the colors in the fruit. So that's been a joy for me. The old material being expelled, might say, how do you know that's what it is? Well, if I haven't been eating and just have some water, which I believe is 90% water, it's pretty hard to think that it's anything else but the old material. Confirmation comes. Some would be because I would have still had, what is it? Stuff in the large intestine that was coming out. But when the old material came out for me, the odor was foul. For other people, it might be black. And so it's you pretty much know based on your body if it is being expelled. And then continuing to detox. So we detox through our skin as well with the drinking of the water. That helps. And I continue to do that. One of the things that happened for me was that as I detoxed, so now my skin is having things come through it as well. Bugs are very attracted to me. And this protocol says you do not put anything on your skin. And what it caused me to do was to seek out, well, what do I do then? And I learned that if you have the bug bites, you can put them under hot water and that will stop the itching. And then also using banana peels as a way to put it on top, and that actually took care of it. So I am about 8 weeks from the 7-day refeeding. I continue to detox. It's not as often that old materials expelled, but again, I can tell. And then the detox is through the skin. I'm not getting bit as much, so I think I'm continue to clear out. And these are 2 ways that you can kind of tell if you're done, if there is a done. A lot has to do with, am I going to continue this diet? If I go back to how I was eating, then one can expect that my small intestine would probably clog up again. So I do feel very hopeful. This is the first time with the health that I love the concepts. I love the thought that I don't need to take supplements. I can listen to my body. If it needs something, that I can fast if it's within that. The thought process is that you can go to a doctor if you broke your arm, something that is outside of what the body is not able to do. And he talked about that some of the people that come, for example, have already had their thyroid removed. Well, then you do need to take something because your body can't produce it. So if you've had a surgery that removes an important organ, that does have something to do, then it can't be healed. It's not there. But if it is there, it can be healed. The other thing to be aware of is, let's say that you came in with arthritis and you left after the 28 days and your arthritis didn't seem to be better. It's not a given that you weren't successful, meaning that your body will heal what it needs to. So for example, what if you didn't know that you had a lot of cancer cells? It hadn't shown up yet, right? A lot of people that I'm hearing, they get diagnosed at stage 4, and it's like, so that's been going on for a while, at least in my mind. It's been, right, accumulating. And so your body is smart. It would know that that cancer will kill you. Your arthritis you can live with. but I've got to go and clean up those cancer cells. And again, that's what the body does. So the little bit of education I had before, it was about that. When you're not putting nutrients in, giving your body a time to rest, and it's not getting any nutrients from new food, it will go and take the damaged cells and use those. So that's how it's healing itself, is that it takes them so you don't have them anymore, and it will continue so until, right, that they would be gone. If you would continue with the fast longer than that, it would have to take the healthy cells because it does need nutrients. But that seems much different than what your mind might tell you. So this is the first time that I'm feeling hopeful, again, for my future health. The diet, my experience has caused me to really need to think about, is this something that I want to do moving forward? So I just recently got back because I wanted to take 2 weeks. I went back to Costa Rica. This is Cocoa Beach. I love it. I'm actually having a retreat there in 2023 because the area is beautiful. To really think about it, because my weight has changed, how I eat, how I interact, my relationships are changing. And so it's important for me to make sure that this is what I want to do. And if you've been in recovery or tried to make a change, you know that keep it one day at a time. Yet to know that this is the decision I plan on making. Because I did talk to Lauren, he does a 6-week follow-up, and I said, if I'm going to bail, I might as well bail now, right? Why? Because I feel sorry for myself sometimes. For example, I was hearing Coco walked into a shop and she said, do you want some chocolate and some coffee? It was like, yes, but I'm choosing not to. So at that night, I was surprised at the amount of, wow, you're not going to have coffee. You're not going to have chocolate. And then back to finding, right, just like, okay, I'm not going to put something on my skin to stop the itching. I found something more natural. It has caused me, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be seeking this out unless I would have to, different ways to accomplish that. And I found cacao 100%, and I now just combine my chocolate, which is fine, with some of the sweet fruit that I'm eating, and so it works. And so that gets me excited too, because it's like, okay, you're doing things different, and just find a different way. Give you a little information now about the things that I've learned. And again, this is my understanding. And the top one is from The Truth About Cancer, and that's at the end as well. Prior to the Flexner report, which was in 1910, doctors were the one that conducted the fasts. They used natural remedies. And this is what Lauren talked about as well, that the doctors were doing that. They would recommend you go to mineral springs, and that, if you remember, people would do that. They go away and they would be in nature, be in places that were healing. So the Flexner report said modern medicine, again, this is 1910, faced vigorous competition from several quarters. And I'll let you read it there. Well, I guess in case somebody isn't able to, the osteopathic medicine, chiropractic, electrotherapy, eclectic, naturopathy, I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure, homeopathy. And so what happened was, it was important to get rid of those. And that is what started being phased out. So at this time, what was happening was that the government started to work with the pharmaceuticals. And the Flexner report was one and what happened was then they would go to the medical establishments and tell them, we will give you money, a good amount of money, if we can impact your curriculum. And we need somebody on the board just to make sure that the funds that we're giving you will be well used. And so they really moved the medical model into one that, if you look at number 4, treats symptoms, not the root cause, and it uses pharmaceuticals. And pharmaceuticals cannot patent anything that's in nature. And so if you're going to make money, if you're going to recommend things, it needs to have a patent on it. And it needs, probably for most of us, that we'd have someone like a doctor telling us this will heal you. If I go to 3 now, it changed the education again. And now, based on what I've heard, is that doctors receive about 30 to 60 minutes of nutrition education within 4 years of their medical school. And if you believe that food is medicine, and isn't it important to know how that impacts your body? The other thing that I have found as I work with my different doctors is I go in and like with the mask, that I will start talking about, well, I've had a lot of trauma. And the doctor looks at me like, I don't know anything about that. And it's like, you don't know that the emotional, mental trauma, how I've been living, impacts my health today. And so for me, that's not the right doctor for me. And part of what I think I'm doing is even planting seeds for doctors that, because I walked out of one of them when I went into, after Dr. Daniel Stanciu said, why don't you go talk to the gastro people? And so I did. And she said, no, you'd have a colonoscopy. We'd do something else that was invasive. And I said, what other options do I have? And she said, none. And I said, well, then you're not my right doctor, because there are others. And that's part of why I wanted to give this webinar and have it available for people later, is if they want to see that there are other options. And again, if cancer is your diagnosis, the Truth About Cancer has a whole cadre of things you can do. And it's been fun for me to explore those. Part of it is I love learning, so it's easy. The resources are here: Truth About Cancer, Ty and Charlene Bollinger. The grief work I did was through Inviting Abundance. This is their picture. Tanglewood is the Wellness Center. Again, it's in Costa Rica.